toast. It's a uniquely American pastime. Now, I'm sure that there are people in Europe that eat toast, but in America, we make the best toast. Just kidding. But we do enjoy the occasional piece of lightly toasted bread, be it white, wheat, rye, marble rye, pumpernickel. Oh man, I love me some pumpernickel. This is a toaster. No shit. Now, the thing is, this toaster I picked up today. I paid probably too much, but you know, it was one of those impulse purchases. I had been looking for a nice vintage toaster for my nice vintage kitchen for quite some time. And this one was for sale, so I bought it. I probably should have inspected it a little bit more because, well, it does get warm, sure, but it's got problems. It's got humongous problems, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Well, not really, but you see what I just did there? I said I was going to do something, and then I said I'm not. Well, it works. The timer works. You can hear it ticking away. Hear it? Dehumidifier's making a lot of noise. The timer does its thing. It goes up and down. It gets hot. But the center element, let me show you what I mean. The center element is in pretty rough shape. The mic is all intact, but the nichrome elements ain't so good. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this guy apart, and we're going to take a look at these elements and see if we can't save them. Okay, now the chrome is, unfortunately, a lot of these vintage toasters, you know, some jackass always takes the green Brillo pads to them and ruins them. And there's not a hell of a lot you can do to, you know, to make them look better. But it seems like damn near everyone I find has this problem. Some are worse than others. This one wasn't so bad. But folks, if you are trying to clean up a chrome anything, be it a faucet, a toaster, a knob for your, like a doorknob, you know, if you're trying to clean up chrome, if you got a Brillo pad in your hand, you should clean your face with it first, and then, no, you should not do that. Do not use a Brillo pad to clean chrome. Now there is a Brillo pad material that is a little safer on chrome. The green ones aren't them. No, what you need is some good old-fashioned quadruple zero steel wool. That's all you need. And WD-40. It's like, works. It works well. Let's see if we can get this thing apart. Toasters are notoriously difficult to repair because they were never meant to be repaired. You know, some of them are easier than others. Some of them are downright impossible. You know, the funny thing is, I don't know what kind of toaster this is. I don't know who made it. The only thing I have any indication is this N logo, which almost resembles the Japanese national electric or Matsushita logo, but I don't think that's what it is. It's got all kinds of crap stuffed inside of it. Now I want to show you something really cool. Alright, you see this right here? You see this? This right here is pure white Colombian asbestos. That's right. This is the nasty stuff that the movie stars are all talking about. Don't mess with that. Don't mess with asbestos. Don't break it apart. Don't try to sniff it. Leave it the fuck alone. Okay. Yes, I said the F word. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get demonetized. People are gonna complain. I don't want to see the fuck word. I defend it. You know what? If you don't like what I say, you don't like how I say it, go watch the Westlice's channel. Go find Electro Boom. He's cool. You know, come on. There are other YouTubers out there. You can find one that doesn't swear, that doesn't say things that you don't like and disagree with. They're out there. And they're much better than my channel. My channel sucks, and I know it. I'm not that out of touch. Okay. There are far better educated YouTubers who do better work than I do. So if you want to see sugar-coated, candy-coated, well-explained, rehearsed, scripted, excellent video editing, don't watch my channel. Ave's probably one of the most popular YouTubers out there, and he swears like a fucking sailor. Anyway, okay, done with that. Now it looks like this whole thing should just pop right out, but we have to remove a few things first. I'm going to remove this knob. I don't want to kink the metal, but it should just slide right off. Oh, there's a set screw. Look for set screws first, guys. Don't be an asshole. Look for a set screw. That should be like, you know, that should be pretty self-explanatory. I forgot. See, back in the day, stuff was made well, and that included set screws. Now there's one on the handle too. I'm glad I flipped it upside down. Oh dear. No, don't break. Don't break. Don't break. Please don't break. I'll be good, I swear. Okay. The whole thing should just come right out. I think. Right? Am I right? Am I wrong? Don't make a liar out of me. Oh, the whole thing is like falling apart internally. It looked like the whole is, oh yeah, it's because these wire freaking things all falling out. Oh my god. We'll fix it. We'll fix it. Honestly. It looked pretty simple, straightforward, self-explanatory, and all those good things rolled into one. And now I got parts falling out of it, and oh my lordy. Oh. This channel should be don't do what I do. Watch my video to see how to not do something. I'm gonna mess with the asbestos, and I'm gonna take the power cord off just to get it out of my way because it's kind of in my way. Don't sniff this stuff. Doesn't smell good, I swear to God, and you will die. You will die if you look at it wrong. That's what that's what asbestos is all about. It kills people. All right. Now it goes without saying that you should make sure that prior to attempting this, that you need to disconnect the power cord from the wall. I thought I didn't have to say that, but someone's going to complain about it. But you didn't tell me today. People suck. All right. Oh, you know what? I bet if I take this cover off, I bet I will be able to figure this out. If I just take this guy off, and maybe the switch. Ooh, look at that. It loosened the switch. Oh, now the whole thing. Oh, look at that. Look at. Oh my God. All right. Well, that makes sense. All right. Boys and girls, I think we're in. Okay, we're in. We have opened the toaster. Now, don't lose these parts because they don't sell these at Walmart anymore. Alright, let's take this out. There we go. Oh, so let's lose all. See, those slide back in. These right here, these are the bread guides. That is the technical term. And they have to be cleaned up with steel wool. And then put back in. Now, there was a vintage toaster I did a video on, a 1900s, 1915, I think it was. And it was a Landers, Frary, and Clark toaster, universal toaster. And I took all of these and I remade these out of stainless steel wire. And it was a successful repair. Because they were rusted beyond belief. Now, you can see the element board, which is made out of mica. It is pretty much, they're all intact. Now you can see the elements, they're basically just flattened nichrome wire, or nichrome ribbon, and they're wound around a mica sheet. Now you don't want to damage the mica sheet because that would be bad. Now people have repaired these old toasters by twisting the nichrome wire back together again. You can't really solder it because it won't hold. The solder will melt. And the mica boards, the element boards, now we can test these individually for resistance to make sure they're still good. I do believe the outboard element boards are just fine and dandy. But we have to worry about the two middle ones. You can clearly see that actually maybe just this one right here, but you can clearly see that the element boards are quite, or at least that one right there, something got caught on that board and snaggle-pussed the wire. So that's not cool. Fortunately, this thing looks to be very easy to service. So, okay, let's start by getting a pair of needle nose pliers and taking out the two center boards. They're supposed to be connected together, and now they are divorced. It's so sad. Now these these element boards are wired in series. So you've got hot and neutral, let's just call it hot and neutral. And the power flows in through the center. It looks like it flows in. Oh wait, no, these are duplicated. Okay, so this is your hot bar. It's like a bus. They're wired in parallel. Or is that series? Shit. No, I think it's parallel. I think I can fucking figure it out. Whatever. Alright, so you've got this. This is basically your contact strip for your hot and your neutral. We'll just leave it simple. So each element board is power. So this side here, power flows in through this connector, through this lug here, through the board, over and across and down and back to here. Okay, same with this one and this one and this one and this one. Pretty freaking simple, actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen these two lugs, and that will disconnect the mica element board. The right tool for the right job. So we're going to take two of these lugs and then do them like that. Okay. Now you realize that these toasters are just flimsy little things. There's nothing to it. Nothing to it at all. There we go. I got this off. And now that's going to let me pull these mica boards out. Now you do not want to... Oh, crap. They're screwed down elsewhere. That's no good. I thought this would be simple. But it's not simple. Alright, well, we're going to have to do a little more extrication to get this done. I might not be able to fix this toaster. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be level with you right now. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be straightforward and forthright. And I'm going to tell you that I don't think I will be successful in this endeavor because, as I was saying earlier, the toaster repair industry, well, let's just say the toaster industry never wanted their goods to be serviced, ever. So they twisted metal together and made it difficult and damn near impossible to get them apart without breaking them even further. And that, my friends, that is how it goes. So it's kind of like if you've ever tried to repair a Japanese lithograph toy, those litho tin toys, they're kind of built the same way. And, you know, that's just how they are. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because they don't want their stuff fixed. It's pretty simple. There we go. Get that guy off there. I'm gonna have to take the whole bottom plate off. And what we're going to do. I'm going to try to find some nichrome ribbon. I'm sure I can get it in bulk. And you know what? Just for funsies, we're gonna fix this toaster. It's a simple thing, and as long as nothing horrible happens, I think we'll be able to get her going. I think somebody tried to take the bread out of the toaster with a kitchen knife. This is what happens. This is what happens. And we've got nichrome that is just, what the fuck? What a mess. So power flows through here, across, and down. That is how it's supposed to work. That ain't what's happening here. Dear God. So we've got dead shorts here. We've got, oh my lordy, lordy, lordy. Can we save it? Yes, we can. If we can find some nichrome ribbon. That's going to be the hard part. I'm going to go searching, and I'm going to try to find something that will replace this. As long as the as long as the mica sheets are intact and not broken, we should be able to save this one. But look at that mess. My Lord. So people have been able to see, it looks like it's broken here. It looks like somebody tried to do this before, but I know that's not the case. No, what happened here is 120 volts of bzzz after it broke. And there's a lot of breadcrumbs. This is 1950s breadcrumbs, by the way. It's very valuable. Alright, folks, I think I found what I'm looking for. Now, the way they sell it is by dimensions, width, thickness, and length. So we're going to need a everybody should have one of these. If you don't have one of these micrometers, or verniers, there is no excuse, because you can buy a set of these for 20 bucks at your local Harbor Freight, and they're not. The secret to these cheap ones, they're accurate enough for non-precision applications, but they have one major flaw, and that is they have a parasitic drain when they're turned off and the batteries left in them, so the batteries will die automatically. All you do is take the battery out when it's not in use, and you've got yourself the world's cheapest set of verniers. Alright, so thickness in inches. And this one does both metric and freedom. So, thickness, what do we got? 0.004, 4/1000ths of an inch. So it looks like the 0.0035 is going to be what we want. So that's, now how about the width? Oh, they measured it in, so it should be 0.031. Let's see what we got. Hey! Close enough. I will take that. Thank you very much. It's kind of hard to measure something like this on end, but it looks like the smallest dimension that they sell is going to do the job. Pretty close. And I might buy enough to rethread the whole goddamn toaster. That way it's all brand new and all consistent. So why don't we do that? Now they're selling it, where I found it is jacobs-online.biz. And it looks to me like they've got exactly what I'm looking for. And it's dirt cheap. Cheaper than actually, if I buy 25 feet of this, it's going to cost me $9. For an extra, I can get 50 feet for $10 even. Add to cart, baby. Well, I've got my helper here. I'm yawning, so tired. Hey, buddy. What you doing? Anyway, so we've got some parts soaking in evapor rust. In this little tub here, we've got what's in here? Oh yeah, all the screws. and miscellaneous hardware. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, these. I'm gonna let these soak for probably overnight. Oh, you know what? Those have cleaned up nicely. So with Evapo-Rust, one thing you should know is that iron oxide rust, it turns black, and that's what happens to it. And these parts are all cleaning up quite nicely. Just let them sit in there for overnight. And I've got all the fingers, all the bread guides down here. Now I did mention earlier that Evapo-Rust tends to attack paint, mainly if the paint is. It doesn't attack paint like in the traditional sense, but what it does is if the paint is over top of rust, it eats it right off. So but this is coming out nice. It's looking pretty good. Again, we're going to let those just sit overnight. There's no harm in that, in doing that. And all these pieces are coming out millhouse. Okay, now these are the bread guides, and we're going to just let those soak. I mean, there was not really much rust in them, but I figured no harm, no foul. I'll leave that closed so certain kitties don't get in there. Some of the parts I'd like to soak, but there's really no benefit in doing so. I'd have to further disassembly, and I really don't want to do any of that. So, all right. Well, we'll come back to this when the new heating element stuff arrives. Okay, everyone, step around. Okay, so I got something today in the mail. It is 50 feet of nichrome wire. Now, this is, I was right. It is measured in ohms per foot. It's 5.15 ohms per foot. What I should do is find 1 foot of good nichrome from the toaster, and we should measure the resistance and see what that looks like. Now again, be very careful. This stuff is very fragile. But before we do that, what we need to do is get our parts out of the Evapo-Rust solution and clean them off. So I'm going to go do that, and so that they're ready for reassembly, and we'll come back to it. Like that. So another little thing I figured out, this toaster, I figured out who made this toaster, and the key is this N logo with a lightning bolt through it. That logo is for the Nelson company. Nelson was known for toasters that were of lower end, which is pretty obvious that this is a low-end product. This is not a high-end appliance. But Nelson manufactured toasters and other things, waffle irons, and of course they were American-made, as everything was back then, and at least in this country. And yeah, so it is a Nelson toaster, if anyone was wanting to know. Nelson, like I said, they were not known for quality. They were a low-end manufacturer. So, but that has no bearing on why this toaster failed. It failed because somebody tried to use a butter knife to remove their breakfast. So, let's unwind the. See, the stuff is actually breaking as I'm unwinding it. So, you know, the thermal cycles definitely have their. You know, it breaks down the metal over time, and that's just how it's how these toasters die. You know, in some cases it can happen because somebody stuck a knife in it, and that's what we're dealing with here. Now we're going to get a 1 foot section. We're going to confirm what the resistance is on a 1 foot section of this stuff, and see what that looks like. If it's comparable to what I just bought, I'm sure it will be. I don't care if it is or not. We're going to use it because it's what we have. All right, so there we go. So now I'm going to make sure we wind it the way it came apart. We need to be very careful about that. So it starts here, it goes up, across, up, across, up, across, and so on and so forth. And then it goes down, and basically the same deal. So I don't think I don't think there's an easy way to screw this up. But where there's a will, there's a way. And I will find a way. I promise. Okay. Now I just need a 1 foot section of good element just to do a little comparison here. So we're going to get our 1 foot section out of this. There we are. We've got our 1 foot section. Now we're going to measure it to 1 foot, of course. Now I have these handy dandy little marks in my bench. I know where I can actually measure out 1 foot here. And let's see, between the 60 and 72 inch mark is 1 foot. That's about a foot right there. We don't need to cut it again, but I'm going to because science. No, I don't know why. I'm just gonna. Here, let's just cut it right there where that little kink is. Let's just see what kind of resistance we're dealing with here. Got my multimeter out right here. And just so we don't get any incorrect readings, I'm going to get a ball of steel wool and we're going to clean off. Yeah, I know that, I knew nichrome. It was, they definitely do sell it in different dimensions, like thickness, and you can get round nichrome wire, you can get nichrome ribbon. It comes in a variety of flavors and colors. Just kidding, just different, you know what I'm saying. Alright, so we need to, actually I kind of wish I had clamps for this thing, because I don't want my body resistance to affect it. So I'm going to hold one end down with a probe. Okay, what do we got? 5.3 ohms. And this stuff is rated at 5.15 ohms per foot. So that's pretty goddamn close. Now what that means, since it's just a little bit different and it's newer wire, we're going to have to replace the whole thing. We're going to have to do all of the elements in this toaster to make it not only last longer, but to have a more consistent toasting pattern. Alright, my camera's got 24 minutes left, which means it has 10 minutes left. Seriously. As long as the light's off, it should be alright. Alright, so we're going to run this through like so. I don't want to shortchange myself. I bought 50 feet for a reason. So if I recall, it started off going this way. And then it went this way. And then it went this way. So on. And so on. And that way. And then it goes up to the next one. Boom. And then it ladders up this way. And then so on. And so forth. It's got to be good and tight. You don't want to have, you know, elements kind of hanging out there, you know. So I believe part of the mica board's job is to absorb some of that heat and radiate it back out evenly. And I'm pretty sure that's part of the principle of operation of the average toaster. And it just hit me. It just hit me that, oh, that's not enough. It's not enough, asshole. It's not enough. I called myself an asshole. Deal with it. We're going to have to pull more wire through. And I probably should have, you know what I should have done is I should have measured the amount of wire coming off, because, well, that was stupid not to. Alright, so that's why we're going to pay out like a lot of wire, because we need it. Damn it. And then it gets all tangled. Oh my god. Well, you get the idea. I'm going to stop the camera and I'm going to continue on working. Okay, so we've got the new nichrome ribbon threaded through and mounted and everything. I did this twice, actually 3 times. So let me tell you some, gather around the fire, kids, and learn from my mistakes. First time, It looked absolutely perfect. Not a kink, not an issue anywhere. And then I realized I had accidentally skipped one wrap. So then I took it all off. Of course, I had already clipped both ends, so I couldn't reuse that wire, and that is all right here. Useless. Anyway, looks like tinsel, doesn't it? So I had to go back and do it all over again. And this time, I didn't skip one. It looked absolutely pristine, perfect, and wonderful, and all like I could ever imagine. And then I realized I was 1 inch too short. So this time, I unraveled it all, and I kept the spool hooked up so I could put more through if I had to, and I had to, and that's what happened. And now it looks like crap, but it's perfect. So let's check. Now this is important. You want to make sure that it's somewhat balanced with the other two elements that you've got in your toaster. So what you got to do is grab your multimeter or your Coke, and you've got to measure the resistance of the other two elements. This actually serves two purposes. It checks for any breaks that you might not have noticed, but it also checks to see what kind of resistance you're getting at. You want to make sure that the elements are electrically disconnected from each other, so you don't want it connected to anything else, because you don't want any contamination in your resistance check. So we're going to connect this here, and we have a whopping, it's like 56.6 ohms. We're going to do the same thing with the other element, and we have 58, 50, down some. 56.0. Okay, let's check the new one. This is the brand new element that we just wound by hand in a basement with parts we bought off the internet. Here we go. That's not good. It comes up open circuit. Oh, right. It's grounding out against my vise. So let's not let that happen. Okay. Back in the vise. Interesting. I'm not getting anything. 54 ohms. That's my final answer. So, close, but not perfect. And that's because we're dealing with elements that are 55 years old on the other two, and one that is only a couple hours old. So, hey, whatever. So we would be ready to reassemble the toaster at this point. However, I need to repaint the base completely, and let's see how that looks. So, okay, so here's the base. I took all the paint off, and I used a chemical called citrus strip, which works really well. This does not have the harmful fumes that aircraft stripper has. It works very effectively. Only took about maybe half an hour of soaking in citrus strip. Just spray it down, let it sit, and the paint just sloughed right off. Now before reassembling, you want to make sure that you sand these bus terminals really well, because you don't want any resistance at that point. That could create heat where it doesn't belong, and reduce the overall effectiveness of the appliance. So this is the stuff that has a little bit of a spraying power there. That's going to sizzle and clean all that shit off. Alright. I'm going to get some Remington dry lube. That's actually a gun lubricant, and I'm going to spray these slides so that they move a little nicer. Okay. That's going to allow the action to move a little smoother. A lot smoother. Wow. What a difference. a lot smoother is the, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these rods here and we're going to clean those with WD-40 and steel wool. While the Surflon containing lubricant that I just used is good stuff, if there's any gunk on these rods, it can cause problems. So what can happen is if the toaster does not fully pop up, it can lead to a toaster fire, which is never good, and often can ruin breakfast. So we don't want that. Because as you see, the power switch, which disconnects the power to the element, that is dependent on the position of the, as with any toaster, depends on the position of the bread holder, and yeah, we don't want to mess with that too much. This stuff dries, so there are no solvents that remain. It all evaporates away, so that works nicely. And there's a little roller ball here. Yeah, so that should close. Yeah, from the looks of it, it's not producing a very solid contact. I'm going to actually manually clean inside there with this little rag here. Don't like how that contact closes. It doesn't close very well, I'll be honest. So let's get some this D100 on there. Let that do its thing. And I'm going to just take this here and kind of clean inside that. It's not small enough. But you get the idea of what we're trying to achieve here. Alright. Now we can remount this guy. I'm going to clean this up with some steel wool first, and then I'll put it back on. Okay, so here's the main toaster base, and that goes in like that. Alright, so when the toaster is pushed down, I just had it here, like this. Down, and then the spring tension pulls up on this. And that little escapement in there dictates how, well, what it does is it prevents it from popping back up again. Let's just get it installed and I'll demonstrate. So how this timer actually works is a little different from what you're thinking a typical timer does. So what it does is it holds the toast lever down, and so it works in conjunction with this latch mechanism. And what it's doing is it uses an escapement mechanism similar to a mechanical clock under tension. So it's just preventing that release from just jumping out. And so if I were to hit this lever down here, it'll release. Okay? And that just automatically disengages the whole thing. So I press it down again, timer restarts. It's slowly allowing this mechanism to rise ever so slightly. Every click it rises maybe a fraction of an inch. And what it's doing is it's pushing this lever up against this stop right here, this thing here. And how the toast light dark setting works is it changes the position of this stop. If I want my toast to be light, it moves the stop down, which, as you can see, has already started the process of disengaging the toaster. So this is light, this is dark. It just changes the position of that release lever. Pretty clever. I remember growing up, the toaster that my parents had didn't use a timer like this, and I think most 1980s, 90s toasters, before they went electronic, they used a bimetallic spring. It went strictly based on temperature, as far as I know. So this all works perfectly. Now the question is, does the toaster work? Well, I'm pretty sure it does. Now let's start reassembling. We're going to put the... Now, this part has to go in at the very end of the process. And this is held in by a It's held in by a retention collar thing, but you can see how it works pretty well. We're going to start it we're going to reassemble the toaster in the downward position, so that way I can line up the knob to the light setting and make sure this slides back in. Yeah, it does pretty nicely. Okay, we're getting somewhere. This is that clip that goes into the bottom to allow disassembly to occur. So you take this clip out, and then you can slide the shaft out and get the cover off. Pretty simple stuff. Okay, so now we're going to have a little fun. I have wired up the power plug, and we're going to see if this toaster still works after all we've done to it. So let's do this. I've even used the original ceramic wire nuts. They don't sell those at Ace Hardware anymore. Alright, plug in the power. Now I want to warn you that it might smoke. No, it will smoke, and it will probably set off the fire alarm, but that's okay, because it's just going to burn off whatever is on it from, let's just go ahead. Here we go. Ready? Set. Yeah, there it goes. So it's burning off the oils that came on the nichrome wire. When toasters are manufactured, they actually run test bread through them to burn all this crap off. And so far so good. I'll see if the elements get red, glowing red. Not yet, but I can feel the heat from here. Yeah, they're glowing now. That is a handmade, hand-wound. Ooh. Okay, that was a... Oh, because I have it on the light setting all the way in the light. Okay. Okay, all right. Fine, I get it. It's mad at me. All right, why is it mad at me? Oh, the guides popped out. That's why. So it's not lining up correctly. There we go. Now, okay, you don't want to play, huh? There we go. It's working though. Let's let it run a little longer. The timers, so what I'm listening for, make sure that timer is ticking evenly. You don't want it to go, you know, because that means I'd have to take the timer apart and fix that now. But so far so good. All of the elements are cooking. The center ones that I replaced, they're the ones that are glowing the brightest. That's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. But yeah, we've got heat. Yeah, they're the only ones that are glowing though. I find that surprising. They're all throwing heat though, for sure. Set the timer. Oh yeah, they're all glowing, just not very brightly. See how they look on the camera here. They all put out roughly the same, within a couple ohms of each other, resistance. So that's a good thing. That means they're not burned. Broken. So that was it. Now let's try to... Oh yeah, see, these pins, they're popping out because there's nothing to retain them. And another cycle. Let's try it again. Here we go. It's releasing it too soon. Then everything is exactly the way it came apart, so could be some other fundamental flaw. Right now I have it on its darkest setting. So let's see what she does. Yeah, I think I know what I did wrong. If we don't have the lever attached, it's not guiding it down exactly as it's supposed to. Okay, and I'm watching it. I'm watching the action here and what it's doing. You can see right there, that's the catch. And you can actually see the bread through the mica sheets. And it hasn't really developed much of a color to it at all. So right now, again, darkest setting, and it's going to pop any second now. So this thing's not getting hot enough, first of all. It's not getting hot enough. And yeah, even the new elements aren't really toasting the bread. So yeah, so when I push down on this guy here, now there is one thing it has against it, and that is that the cover's not on, so the heat isn't being contained. But this isn't really. So if I press this down, it's not. Anyway. One other factor to consider is that this draws only 670 watts. Now, the toaster that we have now draws like 1100 watts. So this thing doesn't really put out the heat, even when it's good and proper. You gotta love some of the engineering that went into this toaster, or should I say lack thereof. So you've got a power cord that is not polarized, right? And you've got a crumb door on the bottom. You open the crumb door, what does it do? It exposes these two buses, one of which could be live, that being connected to the hot side. Yeah. You know, I gotta wonder about that. So you really have to make sure this sucker's unplugged before you start clearing out crumbs, because you could cause some serious, yeah, not cool. Not cool. I have 2 extra screws. I don't know where they go. I just can't figure that out. I don't think I'm missing any parts. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm not missing any parts, but yeah, 2 extra screws. Can't figure out where the hell they go. Go figure. So all I got to do now is repaint the base, mount it back on, and I do believe that, you know, once it's all closed up and the heat is allowed to circulate within, it will actually toast something. I'm pretty confident of that much. That's about it. But it doesn't look too shabby. I mean, let's just try not to ruin it more. Yeah, it's a nice looking toaster. For a cheap piece of shit, it's a nice little toaster. Well, looking anyway. Nice is subjective. But anyway, got nice shiny new elements in the center. It works. It toasts. But we got to get some paint on that base. It's all about that base, and I need black gloss. I have black matte, but I need black gloss to make it look right. But a little secret: if you have matte black paint and a can of compatible clear coat enamel, boom, gloss. And what a gloss! Wow. So we're going to let that dry probably overnight before we mess with it. And we're going to put it back together and maybe make breakfast. Stay tuned. Okay, so the bottom cover looks really bad, but you know what? Yeah, not too impressed. But you know what? It's the bottom of the toaster. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, let's put it back together. Okay, so I've got it set to the darkest mode. We're gonna see if my theory holds true, that the reason it didn't really toast the bread is all the heat was going everywhere else. Everywhere but the bread. So, here we go. 2 slices of Freehofers. I gotta buy more bread tomorrow, so... Whoops. Sorry, honey. If you're watching this video, I wasted all of our bread. Literally. bread, money. Okay, here we go. Down the hatch. Timer starts. See if we can get a good shot of this. Did I plug in the... Yeah, I did. Okay, we got heat coming out. Let me turn this light off so you can see the glowing elements. Turn this light off too. Okay. I got glowing elements, at least in the middle. The ones that I built. Let's see what's going to happen. So this sucker only draws 650 watts, which is probably part of the problem. That's not a lot of wattage. This toaster probably sucked the day it was born. I bet if you were to put white bread, like Wonder Bread, in this thing, it might be okay. One thing that's unfortunate is it's a standard slot width. Apparently bagels were invented in 1992. I don't know. I'm sure they existed, but people didn't eat them like they do now. At least not toasted. So if we get good toasted bread out of this, I'll be a happy man. And I can put this in the kitchen where it will replace our modern toaster. But right now it should be burning that bread. It's certainly burning off something. Toaster factories typically have piles of toasted bread. What they do is every unit that comes off the line, they run a they actually toast bread in them. At least they used to. I've seen pictures and footage of this. But every toaster off the line, or maybe every other toaster or something like that, they run them all, or most of them. Okay, I don't feel confident that it did its job. It is warm, it is slightly gritty, but it is not really toasted. So, this toaster sucks beyond belief. I'm going to have to find another toaster. Which is unfortunate, because I have a lot invested in this one. The timer is just way too fast, and the elements are just way too weak to do the job. What else can I do? I literally repaired the toaster. I mean, you saw it, I saw it. We checked the resistance on all 3 element boards, and this is very, very, very upsetting to me, actually. Okay, so to close out this video, we're not giving up on this toaster just yet. I think it has still some life left in it, but for the most part, you know, it really is beyond repair. It can be fixed, and we're gonna give it another shot. What we're gonna do is we're gonna rewind the other 2 element boards, well, other 4 boards, with new filament. That's why I bought a roll of 50 feet of this stuff. That should give me more than enough to do the job. We're then going to try to work on the timer to see why it's not working consistently. If I put it on light mode, well, now it wants to work. But normally it doesn't want to work. It doesn't want to engage. There's something going on there. I don't know what. But anyway. So, yeah, it's locking in this time. But there's something really screwy with that timer. So I want to rewind the other 2 boards and see where that gets us. We're going to take it completely apart this time, and we're even going to clean the toast slot, or the toast elevators, whatever you want to call those things. We're going to clean those, and I might even replace some of these bread holder things. I think I've got some stainless steel wire that I can use. If I don't, I'll get some, and we'll make it a little bit more robust. So that's pretty much how we're going to end this video. Thank you for watching. I have other fish to fry. Yeah. We'll talk about that in our next video. Thanks again.